Oh. Yeah, and I'm not using my video today because aside from me looking pretty rough, just my internet sucks. So I'm trying to do everything I can to squeeze out as much bandwidth as possible. Um, so for today, right? Today is making sure we know what's up. And what is up is I looked at the uh, assignments, and the assignments have us doing some things that are due on the 12th. So collectively, let's, and again, if you want to chat in the type box, chat in the type box. Oh, God, type in the chat box your thoughts, or if you want to take a minute and say a few words, that's fine. I would just like to get a general consensus on where you guys are at, because today, remember, we said, okay, we're coming to class, we're ready to go. You have either remoted in or you have your own, you know, instance of Visual Studio accessible. So if you don't have that and you came to class today, that's bad. So you really can't say that like, well, I'm not prepared for class. But maybe we'll kind of do some evaluation at the end of class to see where we're at. But again, if we haven't been doing a little bit of work up till this point, I mean, I think we're going to be in problem. And like I said, you at least needed to make the files that you needed, and you can start populating that stuff, even if it's not like straight up code. At least it's like you're putting in some outlines, and that's what we did on Tuesday. So that's kind of where you need to be at. And again, if you're not there, then you're just really going to have problems trying to get this done over the weekend. So I say all that. Do you guys have any, I don't know, thoughts, concerns, perhaps? I'll leave the floor open. I'll shut up for like 10 or 15 seconds.
I mean, I think the mod 2 one's a pretty good example for it if you did it correctly. Like, I know I had problems with it, and I worked with you over the weekend, and getting it done now, it seems like this next mod should be pretty simple to do.
Okay, and that's exactly that right there. That's cookie cutter on what we should really kind of expect, right? And that is, all right, let's work together. Let's figure this. Let's go back and forth. Let's have some collaboration on this and see what we need to do. I think that's helpful. But again, it is helpful if you have at least a baseline there, right? It needs something to work with. We just can't pull this stuff out of thin air. So I don't know. Is there any other thoughts or concerns? And I'll just comment on Jessica's. Let's see. Is there a way that? Is there a way? Any way? There is always a way. Where there's a will, there's a way, Jessica. I've put a lot of work into the project so far, but I got much left to do. Okay. Yeah. Again, and like I said this at the get go for this class, I was like, hey, so much time as we need to get through this, to understand it, to know how to work with it. Because when it comes to our midterm, and when I cover that next week on Tuesday, if you've not been putting enough, if there's been people that haven't been doing what they need to be doing, they're not going to do well in the midterm. And that's okay. We have until the 30th to like kind of make a decision on what you want to do for this class. Like if maybe you're like, well, I can't do it. Maybe I'm just going to push it off until next semester. Well, it wouldn't even be next semester, right? It would be like next year. So, then you can kind of make a decision then. But, if you've got, well, I'll talk about the midterm next week. Let's worry about it. Let's focus on what we have to do here. What we have to, go ahead.
Just so with what Jessica said, I don't know if you'd be okay with pushing it back, because I'm looking at the syllabus, because a lot of us have the same classes together. A bunch of our midterms for like Professor Wedge's classes fall on the 12th. So realistically, if this assignment didn't get pushed back, the last day we'd probably be able to work on it would be like the 11th, if we're going to be studying for the midterm on Sunday in preparation for Monday.
All right. Okay, cool. Well, then that works out. If you know, you guys are doing that for and getting ready for the 12th for them. What I will do, just because I know let's say there's other people that maybe don't have midterms that are due on the 12th, and they're like, well, I'm working on it, or they have already worked on a substantial portion of it, and they want to get it turned in by the 12th. What I can always do then, as long as there's no issues with this, and I think I've said this in the past, you know, the assignment due date was there, so it's not fair to say, okay, well, let's just keep kicking the can on it, because then there are those people that, you know, don't have those scenarios, don't have those situations. It's not fair to them because they've been working along. So what I always say is, what I can do is we keep the due date the 12th, but then if you turn it in before the 12th or on the 12th, then I will just give you extra credit. So I'll just give you extra credit if you turn it on the 12th. Then you know that, yeah, you can still get full credit on it, but if you turn it in past the 12th. I think that's always a fair way to approach it. That's the best way I've found. What are you guys' thoughts?
I think that's a pretty good approach to it because both parties would benefit. It's not singling group out.
I know, and I try not to do that. You know, I try to be a fair dude. You know, because I hate unfairness. I mean, because we got enough of that. So I think that's the best way. I can't think of a better way. But I'm always open to ideas. But I think we can do that. And as long as everyone's cool with that, let's do it that way. And if you haven't noticed, I've also not graded the lab for Mod 2 Lab 1. I won't go into all the specifics of why that is, but I will get that. I will make that a priority. I will try. I will make my. I will get that back to you as soon as possible. Hopefully, it won't be more. It won't be more in a week like this last one was, but you know, I definitely want to get it back to you before we do a midterm. But at any rate, so that's that assignment. So yeah, I'm fine. Cool. Okay, so that's all that stuff. What else? Well, I guess the next thing to figure out, like I said, we want to use today for a working day, and I want to stop flapping so much. So I want to get to it. Is there anything else? I don't think there's anything else for this class. The biggest thing is trying to figure out where I'm going to go first to kind of help you guys.
Another thing with this mod 2 lab 2 that we're doing, in conjunction with our mod 2 lab 1, to use an example, what would be from the files tab, what would be the best one you'd say to use? Because like mod 2 lab 1, we used the budget version 3.
Oh yeah, so like what one could I use to really base this on? I would say I don't think there really is one, man. This one's kind of like you kind of have to do it your own. You have to do it yourself.
Because the only thing I'm seeing with this one is it's just we're using inheritance, aren't we, for the classes? And then it's pretty much just making objects in those classes.
Yeah, so, you know, if we're, I mean, in generify it, get it generic. So if we're talking about what do we need to have, should we use, just know, again, what do I need to mutate and what do I need to access, or what my getters and my setters. So we should have, you know, getters for everything that, you know, you need to retrieve, and then setters for any of those variables. And that's kind of what we talked about on Tuesday is like, okay, well, what do I need for these classes? Well, we have our base class and we know what they need to have. And then the vehicle and the animal, you know, they inherit all of those private member variables of that base class. And then what additional ones do I need to have for each individual class? So again, yeah, it's not like there's I don't think there is. I don't think this is kind of like what do you want to say? Like it's not even the icing on the cake. This is like what we work up toward, if that makes sense. I don't know if that's helpful, but yeah, there's nothing that because I just had to make this up like out of thin air, the program, because I thought transformers were cool. Okay, so yeah, let's do that. And what I'd like to do is just jump into at least initially everybody's team, like, and get a quick round in, and then try and go back to those other teams that you, if you have questions. But please chat with me. Just send me a message like, hey, can you stop in after the initial one so I can get a little bit better idea of the ordering I need to go to. Jessica, for you, Steck, I'm sure he probably emailed you, said he was going to be a little late. So I said, just go right to the team meeting. Everyone else looks like they're pretty good. Devin, I think we've already had a little discussion on that situation. But I will probably jump into, I don't know. I'll jump into the teams, like I said, initially one time, a quick round just to get some bearings, and then message me after that to let me know what you need. Okay. Good deal. All right. So we'll see everybody in there. We'll see everyone in their individual teams, and we'll talk to you in a few minutes.